Hello, and welcome to my first deck tech of Aetherdrift. Today I have an Insidious Roots deck, a lovely green-black card, which I've loved in Pioneer, but up until now just has not had the support to do its thing in Standard. However, now with Aetherdrift, the race car set, we finally have the graveyard effects we need to make it good. I've played this deck to pretty reasonable success. Up to a pretty decent rank. I actually played it up to rank 2 last night, but playing other decks I did drop back down. And that's about it, so let's get right into the deck. So I'm going to start by looking just at the combo, because some of you may be unfamiliar with how this deck works. It primarily uses Insidious Roots, which lets all your creature tokens tap for 1 mana of any color. And whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create an 0/1 green plant token. And then put a +1/+1 counter on every single plant you control. You use Insidious Roots combined with Tyvar, Jubilant Brawler, who says you may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. So you make plants, they come in, they have pseudo haste with Tyvar, and then you have a bunch of mana and you do a bunch of silly stuff. The big thing is Tyvar, his -2 allows you to mill 3 cards, then return a creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. In the combo, you often return Osteomancer Adept, a 2-mana 2/2, which is Underworld Breach on a squirrel, which says tap until end of turn. You may cast creature spells from your graveyard by foraging, in addition to paying their other costs. If you cast a spell this way, that creature enters with a finality counter on it. So the neat trick with Osteomancer is when you exile the 3 cards to forage, if there's at least 1 creature in there, it will trigger Roots twice. 1 creature will leave in the casting cost, and then the creature will leave when it's cast from your graveyard. So you'll get 2 plants. And the final piece of the combo, Snarling Gorehound. A 1-mana 1/1 with Menace. And whenever another creature you control with power 2 or less enters, surveil 1. So what you do is, with Insidious Roots in play, you play Tyvar. You get Osteomancer Adept, triggering Insidious Roots and making a plant token. Then, with the 1 mana the plant token can give you, you activate Osteomancer Adept and cast Snarling Gorehound, triggering Insidious Roots twice, getting 2 more plant tokens, and putting Snarling Gorehound in play. Now, with the Gorehound in play, whenever these 0/1 plants enter, you will surveil 1, keeping your graveyard topped off and allowing you to go through your entire deck. From there, you just play any manner of 1-drops, mill your entire deck, make a massive 20 power plant, and then finally, you cast a Voldaren Thrillseeker. A 3-mana 1/1 with backup 2. When this enters, put 2 counters on target creature. It also gains all of Voldaren Thrillseeker's other abilities, which in this case is the ability to fling itself. So you will make a 20 power plant, Voldaren Thrillseeker it, and fling it at your opponent's face for lethal all in 1 turn. That's how the combo works. Let's look at the rest of the cards. Starting off with our new cards from Aetherdrift. Molt Tender, a 1-mana 1/1 with tap, mill a card, and tap, exile a card from your graveyard, add 1 mana of any color. This card is basically designed for this deck. It fills your graveyard, it makes mana of all colors, so if you need to cast Ketramose or Thrillseeker, it does that. And it removes creatures from your graveyard, triggering Insidious Roots if you needed to. For our other Aetherdrift card, we have Ketramose, the New Dawn. One of the new gods from the set with Menace, Lifelink, and Indestructible. Pretty hard to deal with. Though it can't attack or block unless there are 7 or more cards in exile, which, luckily for this deck, isn't very hard. And whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and lose a life. So Ketramose is sort of our, if nothing else is working, you play it, and you can start drawing cards off Molt Tender activations, exiling Rubblebelt Maverick, activating Osteomancer Adept and playing creatures, or using Haywire Mite to exile a artifact or non-creature. Ketramose is at its best when you're getting sort of stonewalled by these heavy removal decks, and you can't get your combo off. You play Ketramose, can't be destroyed by Get Lost, and just start drawing a whole bunch of cards and playing a fair game plan. With that said, let's look at all the 1-drops. We have 4 copies of Llanowar Elves. The classic, it's a cheap creature, works well with Tyvar. We can play it off Osteomancer, works well with Roots. Gives us mana, lets us cast our stuff better. It's just incredible. We have 4 Molt Tender, acting as basically another Llanowar Elves, but this one also mills. We have 4 Rubblebelt Maverick. A 1-mana 1/1 from Murders of Karlov Manor, which surveils 2 when it enters. So this allows us to fix our draws and fill our graveyard. Plus, it has the ability to 1 green, exile this card from your graveyard to put a counter on target creature. So it can trigger Roots and Ketramose all by itself. An incredible card in the deck, you really do need 4 of it. Continuing with the 4 of Snarling Gorehound, like I said, this is both our main combo piece and our main consistency piece, which allows us to fix our draws. Although unlike Maverick, you can't play turn 1, immediately fix your draws, you gotta play it, and then play more creatures to fix your draws. Though its best use is by having a situation where you just sort of have 1 or 2 of these guys. Your opponent's kind of in a weird spot because you've got a massive board. You're in a weird spot. You've got a ton of cards in the graveyard, but you can't win because you don't have Roots. So you can Osteomancer Adept, start casting creatures from your graveyard, and start surveilling a whole ton to dig to Roots. Next 4 of, we have Osteomancer Adept. The reason it's 4 of instead of like 3 or 2, because yes, it looks like the kind of card you sort of just mill and then get back with Tyvar. The reason we have 4 is because it's a 2-mana 2/2 with Death Touch. It blocks amazingly well, plus its ability, allowing us to cast creatures from the graveyard. We're fine. You can use it every turn. And we are totally fine using it, playing 2 or 3 creatures, exiling 9 cards, even without Roots, because we put so many cards in the graveyard that we're fine just having a nice little value engine. Obviously 4 copies of Roots, it's the namesake of the deck. It's what makes everything work. In fact, if you're up against like a Dimir mid-range deck and you just play Roots, you kinda just win. They're not fast enough to kill you, and they have no way of answering this once it's resolved. Next 4, we have 4 copies of Tyvar. Again, he's a main combo piece. He's also a great value card. He has to be a 4 of. He also just makes our things work faster. So, amazing card. And for the final 4 of, we have Overlord of the Balemurk. One of the Overlords from Duskmourn, which impends for 2 mana. When it enters, it mills 4, then returns a non-avatar creature or planeswalker from our graveyard to our hand. It's amazing. It gets back Tyvar, because you can mill 4, get back Tyvar, mill 3 more. You can mill 4, get back Thrillseeker if you need it, get back Scavenger, or you can even hardcast it. I've had multiple situations where I've hardcast this guy in turn 3, and I've just delivered my opponent to beatdown. As far as our non-4-ofs, which there's a couple, 2 Haywire Mite. Artifact enchantment decks are really popular. The Dimir bounce deck plays a lot of those. Domain is very popular. Mono white token control is gaining popularity in. So it sucks, but we need Haywire Mite for protection. Plus, by already having it in the main deck, you don't have to make any changes when your opponent inevitably brings in Graveyard Hate. We have 2 copies of Ketramose the New Dawn, which, as described, is a sort of weird card because it doesn't do much in the combo, but it allows us to draw a bunch of cards when we can't combo. We have 1 Voldaren Thrillseeker, necessary for the combo, and then 1 Coati Scavenger. A 3-mana 3/2 with Descend 4. When this creature enters, if there are 4 or more permanent cards in your graveyard, return target permanent card from your graveyard to the hand. Another absolutely necessary card, but it kinda sucks because it is a 3-mana 3/2. But it is our only way of getting back Insidious Roots, so it does need to be in the deck. I've had many situations where I play Overlord, I've actually played Tyvar, got milled, got Osteomancer back, activated Osteomancer, got back Overlord, got back Scavenger, and then got back Insidious Roots. So it's a very long chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, but that is how you get back Insidious Roots from the graveyard. That's it for the non-lands. As far as the lands, I'm terrible at making 3-color mana bases, but it is built around having green mana on turn 1. And it's mostly fast lands. As you can see, our deck doesn't go above 3 mana. So a bit of a clunky mana base, but heavily focused on green and black. And then a single copy of Mudflat Village, a land which can sacrifice itself to return a bat, lizard, rat, or squirrel. Our only one being Osteomancer Adept. From our graveyard to our hand. It really has no downside, and I've gotten to use it a couple times. So it's fine to have as a one-of, and that's just how I like it. Moving on to the sideboard. We're starting with a 3rd copy of Haywire Mite. Again, comes in against Domain, comes in against any Rest in Peace deck. I don't love it against Ghost Vacuum because of the way Insidious Roots is worded. If they're Ghost Vacuuming our creatures, we're still getting triggers. Overlord's all in one trigger, they can't stop it. Same thing with Tyvar. These don't target, they just mill then return. Same thing, mill then return. The only thing it's quite good against is Coati Scavenger does target when it returns a card. Even Molt Tender doesn't target, it just says exile a card, so they can't respond to it. So they're not really necessary against Ghost Vacuum, but against Rest in Peace or Leyline of the Void, 100% needed. In the same vein, we have 2 Glissa, a very strong fair card, who also comes in against red aggro decks because she blocks forever, but she destroys enchantments. And same thing with Skyfisher Spider, also destroys enchantments. Why do we have 3 different ways of answering enchantments? Because it's fun. And because I'm not sure which one I want the most of. Past that, we have our anti-red aggro cards, Anoint with Affliction, plus Anoint kills Ketramose, so if you're up against a Ketramose deck, this comes in. For anti-red aggro cards, we have Preacher of the Schism, another great fair card that just stonewalls the aggro decks, plus makes a lifelink vampire when it attacks. Again, beating the aggro decks, skipping straight to Harvester of Misery and to go for the throat. Their removal, if we're going to get pressured on board, these are the cards that come in. And typically when you bring in these anti-aggro cards, we can cut some of our combo cards. Osteomancer can come out a little bit. Sometimes Ketramose is a bit too slow, and Ketramose, like I said, is a late game value engine, so it comes out against aggro. Same thing with Haywire Mite. If we know their only graveyard hate is going to be Ghost Vacuum, we don't actually need it. Past that, we have 2 copies of Agatha's Soul Cauldron. This is our graveyard hate. Plus, we can use it to exile our own Llanowar Elves, our own Molt Tender, our own Osteomancer Adept, and our own Voldaren Thrillseeker to give their abilities, and our Haywire Mites to give their ability to the rest of our board. So that's our graveyard hate of choice over Ghost Vacuum. I did a little bit of skipping around, but let's go straight to Deep-Cavern Bat. I don't bring it in often, since we don't mind getting Sunfalled or Sweepered in this deck. We mostly care about Rest in Peace, but if you're against a true control deck, playing counter spells or whatever, Deep-Cavern Bat is an include. Same thing with Diabolic Intent. If we end up playing against a deck which is just full of an unreasonable amount of hate, maybe 4 Rest in Peace, maybe Leyline of the Void. We bring in Diabolic Intent as a way to guarantee finding a Haywire Mite. Plus, I can just find a combo piece if we really need to. And then, last but not least, Gix Yawgmoth Praetor. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay 1 life. If they do, they draw a card. So this, I don't bring it in as often as I should, but against the matchups where you expect them to be killing all your roots, killing your Tyvars, killing your Overlords, and you're just going to be sitting around with like 3 Llanowar Elves, that's when you bring in Gix, because it turns every attack into an Ancestral Recall. So that's the deck. Well, if you enjoyed the deck tech, leave a like, comment, subscribe, YouTube stuff, and enjoy the gameplay. Thank you. Goodbye. Alright, we are back on the draw with a pretty solid hand. It feels very rare that I have Insidious Roots in my opening, and we are against Domain. Interesting. So we have a couple choices here. We can lead out on Molt Tender, or we can lead out on Maverick. Against Domain, it's probably a little bit dangerous to just run Insidious Roots out, but I might be doing it. I'll be playing Molt Tender because I actually have very little mill. I have the Molt Tender and the Maverick, so I want to get as much value out of the Molt Tender milling as possible. We just have Hedge Maze into Hedge Maze. You know, I'm actually just going to start with Insidious Roots. We have 2 Haywire Mite. So we have a reasonable amount of ways to free our roots if it gets leyline bound. Plus, without Up the Beanstalk, I don't much care about leyline binding. Sure, it might be a 1 mana remove anything, but at least it doesn't draw them a card. Ketramose. Actually kind of good. We don't really need Ketramose for this matchup. I'm going to commit kind of heavily. I'll mill the card here. Play the Maverick. I like to do the Surveil 1 first. Do I need Ketramose? I don't think I do. I think I need the combo, which I'm not finding. So at this point, I'm basically looking for either Tyvar or Overlord of the Balemurk. Those are really the only 2 cards I want. Is there anything else I would take? I'd actually keep a Haywire Mite, just to protect my stuff. Keep a Haywire Mite, but other than that, it's the big 2 guys. They're the ones that win. So hopefully they don't find Leyline Binding. And we find one of our combo pieces. So we did not find a combo piece. I'm not particularly tempted to just run everything out, but I think I have to. I want to start by milling. I'm going to hold the Osteomancer in hand. Maybe I'm not. So I was really hoping to maybe mill a Tyvar or an Overlord. The obvious concern is if I just sort of sit here, I lose. And if I overcommit into Sunfall, I also lose, but that is the risk we have to take against Domain. So yeah, we need to find one of our 4 Tyvars or 4 Overlord. It's not that unreasonable to think that if we can't find any of our 8 game winners, maybe they can't find theirs either. So they got auto-tappered. They didn't get left with a white up. Luckily we don't care about them gaining life. As long as they're above like 100, we should be able to kill. Anything above 100, well, I'm getting... Well, I might have 1 turn left if they're ditching to get lost. Another whiff. Oh, this could still hit. Another whiff. Do I lose? I guess I can try to dig to Tyvar, huh? could start on the Gorehound. Maybe a couple more mills. Well, it's not like any of them do anything particularly special. Just make sure I get as many plants as possible. Sort of try to put them in a situation where they need to sunfall. And they can't just, like, leyline binding, call it a day. There's a backup roots. So, I could play the Maverick. Maverick doesn't seem bad. 1, 2. Again, I don't think I need Ketramose here. Actually, there's a chance I did need to start with Ketramose. Just for the card draw. So there's my Tyvar. Put it in the grave because I've got no way of drawing. And I've got another 6 surveils coming after. So I still get to fill up my graveyard. I don't really care about ordering here because I'm putting all 4 into the grave. That's actually not entirely true. If I hit a Tyvar on top, I'll keep it around. Play land, I play the Scavenger. Put Tyvar in hand. And then I can sit and question if I need to do anything else. I could play another Maverick. And try to dig to another copy of Insidious Roots. Which I might do. So I'm going to do that. Try to dig to another copy of Roots. Because obviously in this situation, I've got 2 Molt Tenders. If next turn they Sunfall plus Leyline Binding take me off the board entirely, I want to be able to completely rebuild, which I think Tyvar Insidious Roots is just about it. I'll keep that around. That might be just as good as a second copy of Insidious Roots. They discarded Get Lost, so they might just have multiple copies of it. Actually, yeah, I think on the assumption that they wouldn't discard Get Lost unless they had a second copy. Or, well, no, I was right. Hey, as long as they don't kill me. As long as they don't Sunfall, actually. I can get my Insidious Roots back, I can make 1,000,000 mana, and then I should be able to win. Though, that's a very suspicious hovering of the hand. Okay. Overlord of the Mistmoors does nothing. So I'm going to start by freeing my... And also make sure Auto Tapper doesn't ruin my life. Start by freeing the Insidious Roots. Unfortunately, I do have Scavenger in play, so I'd need Scavenger to die if I want to be able to recur another Roots. There's a Roots on top. I have both my Ketramoses exiled, so I cannot actually draw a card here. Yeah, okay. So this works because I can free my Insidious Roots. I can make all the mana. And then... Oh wait, the Abzan on the leyline. Oh, that was a bit silly of me, wasn't it? Yeah, they just free it up. Well, I misplayed, but they misplayed right back. So no big deal. And then I have Osteomancer. By the way, if you're wondering why there's no game audio, it's because if every time you trigger Insidious Roots with several plants, you get this horrific stacked sound. So I'm leaving it off so I don't have to listen to that.
We're in this together.
Hopefully there will be something for you to listen to, though. So here, I basically just want to get stuff out. Yeah, alright. So I will have to find a black Overlord, which I still have all 4 in the deck. And then use that to get Voldaren Thrillseeker, which hopefully is an exile. It's not, because otherwise it has finality if you cast it off the Osteomancer, which isn't... Actually, no, nope. I'll play Molt Tender. I'm going to leave the Maverick in the graveyard because it can exile itself for a little bit more value. Obviously don't need another Osteomancer. And now we are just digging for exclusively Overlord. Hopefully I can do it before I run out of time. They might just activate their Overlord here, tap out. Because, I mean, they have nothing. I know they have nothing. Otherwise they would have done something already. Again, gonna get to... Actually, this isn't an again, but by getting to 0 cards in my library, Snarling Gorehound triggers a lot faster. Because it doesn't give you the option to surveil, because you can't. Land, creature. Wow. I have 6 cards left, and 3 of them are Overlord of the Balemurk. That is wild. Now I have 0 cards left, and 0 of them are Overlord of the Balemurk. Speed clicking through here because the Overlord is going to mill the last 4 anyway. As far as which one, it doesn't matter. You're just choosing the order of the counters. Because you're getting both either way. It does not matter. So what I do here, I get back Thrillseeker. I play Thrillseeker, and yes, obviously this combo is a lot quicker and easier with multiple copies of Insidious Roots. But we don't need it. I assume they don't have any removal whatsoever. Although, because I have 26 cards, it is, I believe... Actually, how much mana do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's actually going to be 9, 10 on those. So yeah, no reason I can't just do this. Osteomancer, land. Just in case they have like some weird effect that only kills a creature. I'm going to do this, get back Thrillseeker again, so I could actually play it 3 times if necessary. Mill 0, get back Thrillseeker. Trigger again. Even more triggers. We could... If there was a way to sacrifice our Gorehounds, I would do it. But we don't. So this is how the deck wins into Sunfall decks. We can combo off in 1 turn. Holy cow, indeed, we got him. We combo off in 1 turn and kill anybody. So we could have actually kept going. With 21 cards left, we had a few more loops. So even more triggers, even more loops. If we really needed to, we could put the counters on a Scavenger, sack it, get a 2nd root. Get silly with that. So against Domain, we want Haywire Mite. Take care of those enchantments. We could bring in Glissa. I like Ketramose in this matchup a little bit, but I don't love it because a lot of their removal is exile. We can take out 1 Osteomancer. Because one of the reasons we like this card is it's a 2/2 Death Touch. It is a great blocker. But we don't block often against that deck. And we're just gonna hope we don't get double Rest in Peace. Now we're on the draw with a hand that would be incredible in Game 1, and it's honestly still a pretty good Game 2. But with less tech cards, it's less enticing. I'm actually going to run out the turn 2 Tyvar. Because against the Beanstalk deck, since they're not killing Tyvar with damage, it's a lot more reasonable to think that he could live a turn or two. And yes, I am gambling on a hit. Oh. Might as well, right? So I'm playing this because I want to dig to something rather quickly. Domain is scary, having access to Rest in Peace, having access to Get Lost, Leyline Binding. They really are just about a nightmare matchup. Oh, we just lost our Thrillseeker. So now we gotta kill him the old-fashioned way. So this deck is obviously weakest to Rest in Peace opponents. If I had to say anything about this, I'd say it's good that these Rest in Peace decks aren't popular, but I've played it like 5 in a row. So I could just entirely be wrong on that fact. Because they seem to be everywhere.
Take my hand.
That said, if they kept a bad hand that was just nothing but Rest in Peace, we could just win with a bunch of idiots, basically. Yeah, if they don't have the green Overlord, they don't have much to do here. Another Tyvar. Playing this pre-combat because I can. And hopefully dig into a Haywire Mite. Yep. I'm just gonna sit here and pretend they don't have Sunfall. Okay.
Oh, just
How kind of them. Give me some map tokens. I assume that means Sunfall, and if a Sunfall does come down, we have to concede. Technically we don't have to concede, but when we have nothing left against the Domain deck, Sunin Luxa Embodied. Oh, that's a new one. Seems I messed up by putting it on the non-menace creature. Alright, well. Just gonna keep running everything. Can't attack or block unless there's even number of counters on it. But it draws cards. So they are... Is this an enchantment? No, it's not. Alright, so they play Sunfall with a creature that is notably horrible with it. I would assume they still do, but I guess even Day of Judgment works. It's Sweeper or we win. Does that stop us? Because this can't block. Okay, well, that's... So that's actually a question I got while streaming this deck. That what's the difference between this deck and, say, the Blue-White Omniscience deck, right? They're both graveyard combo decks. Isn't this one more fragile because it has creatures? And the answer is no. We have a much better fair game plan. I know this game was kind of weird, but it comes up more often against red aggro, where we can play out our blockers. We can play about Maverick. He's a great blocker. Osteomancer, great blocker. Overlord, which I've even hardcast this on turn 3 quite a few times, is a great creature. So this deck is still a graveyard combo deck, but it has a reasonable fair game plan. Alright, we're back on the play with a pretty solid hand that could just... We could either play turn 2 Tyvar plus the Llanowar Elf again and play Molt Tender, or we could gamble and try to hit a creature. They're both good options. And it's... My goodness, it's Domain again. Actually, that's not entirely true. Seeing that it could be a couple decks. So I'm actually going to play Molt Tender and Overlord at the Balemurk. Overlord's got a better chance of hitting than Tyvar. Oh, would you look at that? Tyvar would have whiffed. Land, land, land. Yeah, it could actually be white-green control. Token control. I'm just gonna commit super heavily to the board. Against these, Sweeper, Sunfall, Get Lost has answers to everything we ever want to do type decks. When you really just want to go, go, go. We have a fair game plan, but our fair game plan is much better at being defensive than beating somebody in the face till they're dead. Haywire Mite's not terrible, but I really just want roots. That's what I'm gonna do. No mana. Don't want to activate the Adept. So we've been split up here, taking care of these guys. I was actually gonna switch to full control so I could tap this guy if they did split up on untapped. Alright. Let's, what can we do about this? So, I could activate Osteomancer. They have something. Something they're thinking about. Lead on Haywire Mite. Obviously without roots, I don't need to do the exile a creature. There's an Overlord of the Balemurk. Actually going to grave that so I can play it this turn. Unless, of course, I hit a roots on top, in which case I just wasn't gonna play it. You know what? Although that's actually my entire graveyard. Actually, no, wait, that would lose me my Voldaren. If I chose to use the Molt Tender. I'm gonna leave the Thrillseeker around. Doesn't matter. Just putting counters on. Still not hidden. Back up, Tyvar. I think game 1, I don't mind the back up, Tyvar. Here, I'm just gonna mill. So I can untap it and mill again. With the exception of just straight up drawing into Insidious Roots, we are looking to mill it and pick up... Oh, there it is. We are looking to mill it and pick up Coati Scavenger.
Show them what you're made of.
I'll have the Molt Tender back. If I absolutely need to, I can sacrifice the Haywire Mite. Otherwise, I'll just be milling a card. Yeah, if they want to kill Tyvar, that is more than okay with me. Obviously, I've got multiple backup Tyvars. I've got an Osteomancer in the grave. I really just need to fill up my graveyard. It's a little bit empty, only 5 cards. Mudflat Village isn't terrible. It's not great, but it isn't terrible. I'm probably going to look to Sunfall me next turn. I think...
Share in my glory.
I always assume when people have these very, very slow draws that it's because they have something like that. Pick a Molt Tender. Again, I'm gonna keep digging. Maverick. Here, I'm actually going to play Ketramose. I know it runs into that Sunfall. But outside of that, it's not too bad. I don't actually need all my Tyvars in there. So now I can exile cards from my graveyard. And if I get a little bit lucky, I could hit Insidious Roots. Okay. Yeah, like that. So I have 4 mana, so I need to play Tyvar first. It's a little bit awkward no matter what I do. I could just wait until I could let them Sunfall me. And then go for the win next turn. So if I let them Sunfall me, doing nothing. Next turn I can play Roots, Tyvar, minus, get a Molt Tender. I could actually just Tyvar plus, because I've got backup Tyvar. And I could get more Molt Tender mills.
I have arrived. Hold your applause.
Honestly seems good enough to me. Get lost out of their hand. There's another Roots.
You've got this.
Nope, gonna buff a Gorehound. Notably, where's a Gorehound? Do I grave it? Yes, I do, obviously. Or do I? Yes, obviously. Questioning my own deck. So, genuinely best case scenario, they just Sunfall tap out, we win the game. There's a land, there's the Sunfall. Gonna mill a card. That being said, I think we win. You can never be 100% certain with this deck, especially with 19 cards already exiled. But here's our Roots. And our Tyvar. And let's hope good things start to happen.
Good. Never give up. We can
So
win.
I could start on Gorehound. Actually, no, wait. I need to start on Osteomancer. Yeah, that's on me. It's always start on Osteomancer. And then we can go for Gorehound. And then we just go for everything else. I don't think I need to Coati anything. Plus, there's 3 other Roots in there. The Exiles. I'll hit one of the Mavericks, because I don't think I need all of them. And then this should be fairly straightforward. Yeah, this should be fairly straightforward. Where's Coati Roots? Okay, perfect. Now I just mill. I mill. There's a second Gorehound. I mill. Play the Gorehound here. Although there are very few cards. I think I'd still play the Gorehound here. So, when this happens and you have only creatures, you can see that I click my graveyard. It does nothing. You have to... This worked in the past. Okay, I just click a lot. You just gotta click a lot. It'll work eventually. I was gonna say double clicking works, but spam clicking seems to work. I just need to be careful. I leave myself with enough cards in the grave. And pen this guy. And now we definitely have enough. We just need to make sure we don't time out. We have enough creatures, we have enough damage, we have enough mana. It's all nice and easy. It's kind of the power of this deck, though. So I set up a very strong, fair game plan, force them to tap out to Sunfall. Which is usually a good idea against a graveyard deck, but with only 2 cards and 5 mana, I was able to set up the full win. Play this. Back up this. Grave that, grave that. How much mana do I have? Not much, actually. Exile this. I'm going to be going a little bit fast here. I want to make sure I don't accidentally time out. Although with the time extension, that's a little bit difficult to do. This should work. I will have enough. Alright. A nice easy little combo from 2 cards and 5 mana. Killing the domain player. And they're out of here. That's why this deck feels so strong. You can be fair, you can be unfair. Once again, Domain. Glissa, Haywire Mite. Osteomancer. And again, Ketramose is a little bit slow, especially against exile removal. I forgot to unmute myself for the opening hand, but we have a Rubblebelt Maverick, we have Insidious Roots, we have Overlord, we have a strong fair game plan, which just got made a lot better by Llanowar Elves. So we can go turn 1 Llanowar Elves into turn 2 Glissa, and hopefully put a lot of threat onto them. Make it difficult for them to play up the beanstalk here if they have it. Make it difficult for them to play in a green Overlord here if they have it. We're still gonna do it. But notably, the only single black is coming to bite me a little bit. I'm gonna start on Maverick. Maybe that tells me what I should be doing. Another Overlord of the Balemurk. Engrave them both. So I'm actually gonna mistap my mana. Make sure... So because we have a lot of pain lands, this game absolutely loves to just tap your pain lands instead of anything else. Destroy this. Obviously it doesn't help us against a Sunfall, but it prevents them from Sunfalling into maybe a good Zur turn. So yeah, they're forced to use a Get Lost. Oh no. It's a bit annoying. Are you gonna set up to hardcast the Overlord next turn? And I can draw a Tyvar. So yeah. Tyvar is great, but again, I'm never a big fan of gambling with him when you don't have anything to get back. Most of the deck is hits, but you can never be sure with only 3 mills. There's a Haywire Mite. A little bit obvious, but we are going to take it. It's great that we don't have to play out Tyvar to do it. So Tyvar can... Oh no. Now they have a bit of protection. I actually don't mind just trading blows with the Overlords. They can very easily set something back up. And although we don't really have an answer to Zur anywhere ever, we can just find a... taking Glissa, of course, for the blocks. I'm gonna play this out. Maybe they mess up and try to Zur their temporary lockdown later. So they are committing to not playing Sunfall for the rest of the game. So yeah, now we just need to stay alive, not die to this guy. Which might be a little bit difficult. Might just be a little bit difficult. But we need to dig to Coati Scavenger and get an Insidious Roots. To that end, I'm going to lead on Tyvar so he can mill even more cards. Now that we don't need to be afraid of the nasty Sunfall. For mana efficiency's sake, I'm going to take Osteomancer. Then keep swinging. Keep getting my cards. No Coati. I could take a Molt Tender, I could take a Gorehound, I could just take a Maverick. Honestly, take Maverick's not that bad of an idea. Gives us 2 surveils. Without having to commit too much. Obviously, doesn't matter what we do. If they have Rest in Peace, we lose. But if they don't have it, we win. And that's pretty cool. So I'm at 12. I need to block 4 of their 7 ground attackers. don't mind doing. Although, of course, Haywire... No, this does trigger after. So every turn they don't kill us is a turn we get closer to winning. Okay. Take that down, take that down. You can die. I think I'm just gonna trade off the board. Well, I might leave Molt Tender alive. Obviously gonna mill a card here. Get my graveyard as full as possible. So I do these blocks because I have the backup Tyvar. If I did not have backup Tyvar, I might... And actually, no. Wait, I have Overlord for backup Tyvar? I'd probably try to keep the Osteomancer alive. Well, it seems I'm out of time, but just my luck. I didn't need any more time. Tough for them. Lucky for me, but... It's just Insidious Roots Tyvar that wins. And we obviously take Osteomancer. We already have 25 cards in the grave. So I don't really need much. Still can take Gorehound. So I do need to dig. To the Thrillseeker. But we get our triggers. Alright, now I just need to play cards. The toughest thing about this deck is, like, you want to think a lot, but you don't need to think a lot. It's fairly straightforward. You get a Gorehound down, you put your entire deck into your graveyard, and then you win. Plus they're already at 12. So I don't even need to double Thrillseeker. I think a single Thrillseeker will kill them. I can just, like, kind of play random cards. As long as, of course, you do land, or Roots, Tyvar, plus a creature. Everything works. My entire deck. Just making sure I still have the Thrillseeker. I do. You always have to be careful. If you don't have a Thrillseeker, you need to go slow. But I do have the Thrillseeker. Need to play a couple more cards before that's lethal. Where's the Molt Tender? Molt Tender's one of the better ones because you can exile a card and make a mana, and it also makes another plant. So I spend 1 mana for this. I get 2 insects, or plants. So I get 2 plants, I can activate this, get another plant. So every Molt Tender is plus 3 mana. And this should be exactly 14. Tyvar, Haywire Mite. So yeah. Sunfall decks, not a problem. Rest in Peace decks, they're still a problem though. And that is the unfortunate problem with a deck that needs a big graveyard and not just one specific card in it. Alright, see you up on it. Thanks for being here. The catch him out great here. Alright, we did it. If you've reached this part of the video, thank you. And I'd like to go over a couple of closing points of the deck. So, this deck is very, very strong game 1. It is at its absolute best in the first game. With no graveyard hate, you can kind of just do whatever, and you'll eventually win with the combo. Saying that, this deck would be an amazing best of 1 choice if you teched it like a little bit harder to beat the aggro decks, because they are problematic over there. Anything else about the deck? If you find yourself running into, you know, infinite Rest in Peace, it's totally fine to commit harder to the fair game plan with Glissa. You could go more Haywire Mites. You could cut Ketramose if you're against aggro, though. Ketramose probably stays in against the Rest in Peace decks. And that's about all I've got for you, so if you enjoyed, do check out another video. And I will see you next time. Bye bye.